Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot, so let's get to decorating. Find your perfect tree in our huge assortment of shapes, sizes, and styles. Like the easy-to-assemble Jackson Noble Fir, with pre-lit branches perfect for styling with all your favorite ornaments. Or the Flock Starry Light Fraser Fir, with over 1,900 pre-lit memory wire branches that keep their shape so it's ready right out of the box. Ooh. Find the perfect tree now at the Home Depot.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC and your daily reminder that the Reds are top of absolutely everything. It's the international break, so there's not a whole lot going on. I do recommend going and watching the video on YouTube with Alison, Mo, and Robbo as a panel discussing the greatness that was. It's a really good watch, and it's really good to listen to the three of them speak. We have a little bit of news that's come out regarding a new appointment by the club. They have appointed David Breen, also known as Dahi Breen, as a new physio. He joins from Harlequins, where he'd been working as a rehab physio there. He is very highly regarded in his field, and in his previous field, he was highly accomplished. David Breen was one of the best hurlers in Ireland for a couple of years, captain of Limerick in the early 2000s, captained them to a Munster title in 2011, was part of the team that won the Division 2 of the National Hurling League in 2011. He, at club level for May Piercy, won 5 Limerick titles, 4 Munster titles, and an All-Ireland Senior Club Hurling Championship. That might not mean anything to anyone from outside of Ireland, but in Ireland, that is a fairly decent track record of playing at the highest level of our national sport, or one of our 2 national sports for men, and we have obviously a couple for women as well, camogie and ladies GAA. Rounders apparently was considered at one point a national sport. We've quietly put that to bed. Handball is still a national sport here as well, but Gaelic football and hurling are the 2 main ones for the men. And as a hurler, David Breen was highly accomplished. He's an unusually tall man for a physio, standing at 6'5", so he will tower over most of the squad. He will be the tallest person in the room at all times of the club right now. Nice to see a little bit of Irish blood in and around the club, and hopefully he can bring his expertise to the physio department and help keep our players fit, firing, and ready for what is going to be a long season. A long season hopefully filled with joy. As I repeat, the Reds are top of absolutely everything, and it is tremendous. Back to the YouTube video, there's a lot of people very hyped about what Mo had to say and his mindset and the mentality that he showed. And on the subject of Mo, we've had some recent speculation from journalists, not necessarily English journalists, but some journalists, that Mo is a long way away from renewing, that the two sides are quite far apart. And I know his agent, who is not everybody's cup of tea, I get that, has come out and retweeted a tweet of his own from a few months ago where he said that the people pretending to know what's going on have no idea and shouldn't be listened to. So, fingers crossed, Mo gets his contract sorted and renews to stick with us. There seems to be pretty popular belief that Virgil is the one that will get done first and foremost. I think that was probably always the easiest one to do anyway. The one that I would say right now seems unlikely is Trent. Now, there are Spanish reports saying he's decided not to renew. I don't know what credence you would give them. These are largely Spanish outlets that are, loyal to Real Madrid, influenced by Real Madrid, and unlikely to have the inside track on what an English player whose English brother is his agent is currently doing. Real, we know, want Trent. Everybody knows that. They've made no secret of it. They've been very overt in their wooing of Trent. And they're doing the usual Real Madrid things of, trying to mount public pressure, trying to leak things that give them an edge, whether it's, the smallest possible edge where, he sees this and thinks, God, they're really, really pushing the boat out here. Like, they're making sure I know that I'm the primary target. But also, and we've seen them do this before, leaking things that paint him in an unflattering light in order to get the Liverpool fan base, and in other cases it's been, other fan bases obviously, to potentially start to turn against him and maybe plant a seed in his mind of, well, not everybody wants me here, So I think for now, we just need to keep our heads on a swivel, listen to trusted sources, not buy into a lot of the bullshit that comes from other places, not buy into, some random account on Twitter with 400 followers trying to tell us something, not buy into listening to people who have vast track records of being professionally wrong about absolutely everything, and just wait and see. Like, we just need to wait and see. And what we can't afford is we cannot afford the Trent situation or the Mo situation or the Virgil situation to disrupt this season, because everything thus far has gone really well for us. Remember, 17 games in, 1 defeat, 1 draw. The draw was a good result. Away to Arsenal, missing the best goal scorer in the world, or the best goalkeeper in the world, and our best goal, well, not our best goal scorer, but our best number 9. Our first choice number 9 in Diogo Jota. Missing Alisson, missing Jota. They can claim they were missing players as well, and that's absolutely true. But they were at home, and we weren't. So we can take that as a good result. The bad result, the only bad result from 17 games so far, is Forest. And ultimately, it's not that bad a result if you look at it in the context of the season so far. Nottingham Forest are doing very well this season. I know they lost at the weekend to Newcastle, but as a whole, they're doing very well. They currently sit 5th. They have the same points total as Chelsea and Arsenal. So, while it's disappointing and frustrating, it's not the terrible result it felt like at the time. They've played Bournemouth, who, beat City, beat Arsenal. They got a draw. They beat Southampton. They drew with Wolves. I would bet they'd like that one back. They went ahead and then conceded a late goal. Even the Bournemouth one, or they conceded it immediately afterwards, I should say. The Bournemouth one, they were ahead for most of the game and conceded a late goal. So they could easily have won both of those games. They went to Brighton and got a draw, which is a good result. Came from behind to get that draw. They lost to Fulham. They'll be disappointed with that one, but Fulham are having a good season. They're seventh. They drew away with Chelsea. That's a good result. They beat Palace at home. They beat Leicester away. They hammered West Ham. And they lose to Newcastle. It's not a terrible result by any stretch. Newcastle, I think, sit 8th right now. 1 point behind Brighton, Forest, Chelsea, and Arsenal. So they haven't had a bad result other than that home draw with Wolves. They're having a really good season thus far. Now, they play Arsenal next, and I'm sure Arsenal will beat them. But in the context of how the season has gone so far, that result for us isn't as bad as it felt in the moment. You know, we had a promising start, winning our first 3 games, not conceding any goals, and that one hit us like a ton of bricks. But you look at the response to it. We win 4 in the league, then we draw with Arsenal. We've won the last 2. We've won 2 games in the EPL Cup. We've won 4 games in the Champions League. Like, we have just responded so well to that. And we cannot allow anything to disrupt this season. And certainly not outside noise from unreliable, potentially biased sources whose sole aim really is to destabilise things for Liverpool and create an environment where Trent feels he doesn't want to be there anymore. My gut feeling is Virgil signs, Mo signs, and Trent goes. But again, that's just a gut feeling. And I wouldn't be surprised if he extended. I really wouldn't be surprised. Because I think it's the one that's probably 50-50 right now. I think Virgil's 100% going to stay. I think Mo is 75-25. I think Trent is 50-50. And I know we're all getting frustrated by the fact that these contracts have not been done yet. I understand that. I think that's absolutely fair. But the bottom line of it is that those 3 players are contributing huge amounts. They're showing incredible commitment to this team, to this club, to the fan base. And they're 3 of the primary reasons that we sit top of the Champions League, the only team to have won all 4 games, despite having had arguably the hardest run of anybody. We're top of the league. We haven't had the hardest run in the league, but the last 4 games have all been against quality opposition. You've got Chelsea, who sit 3rd, Arsenal, who sit 4th, Brighton, who sit 6th, all of them on the same points tally, and then Aston Villa, who are a point behind them. Now, I think they sit 9th maybe, but it's a point. It's not like a thing that they're 6 points behind Arsenal and Chelsea. So the last 4 have been against quality opposition. We've also been to Old Trafford and faced our biggest rival. We've played a Bournemouth team that have beaten City and Arsenal and drawn at Villa. We've beaten a Brentford team who nobody enjoys playing against. We beat Ipswich, who just went and won at Spurs. You know?
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Add $179 million in total cash prizes.
Mom, what are you doing?
Mix in 3 parts bills, bonus boxes, and multipliers.
Is this some kind of recipe?
Gradually stir in a ton of excitement.
Oh, you're trying to make Ohio Lottery holiday scratch-offs, aren't you? Stop overcomplicating things. Just go buy all your favorites like Holiday Cash, Holiday Lucky Times 10, and Merry Money.
Oh, that is easier.
Uh-huh.
Now help sift non-winning tickets into My Lotto Rewards for a second chance to win.
Play Holiday Scratch-Offs. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and condition regulations. Play responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Everything that's taken place for us this season has been so positive. And while I know there are fans out there that would like to see the manager be a bit more outgoing and maybe, connect with the fans, whatever that is, none of that is really important. What's important is that he gets on with doing the job in the way he sees fit and that he gets the best possible results for the club and that he delivers silverware for the club. And thus far, he is getting on with it in the best possible way and delivering results week after week, game after game. There can be no complaints at all about Arne Slot thus far. None. And there can be no complaints about the performance level of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, and Mohamed Salah. Mo and Virgil in particular. I mean, I think Virgil's the best player in the league. This season, I think last season he had a real shout about it. I think he really had a case, considering the chaos around him. 4 different partners at centre-back, multiple players playing right-back, 3 of them, 3 different players playing left-back, 2 different goalkeepers, a constant change of the guard in midfield, and he was just dropping 8 out of 10s week after week after week after week, 9 out of 10 some weeks, 8 out of 10, just on and on and on. An incredible level of performance from Virgil last year. And this season he's kicked it up a notch further. Having Ibu next to him has obviously helped. Ibu's having a phenomenal season. Like an ungodly level of performance from Ibu, or maybe a godlike level, if you wish. And Mo, 10 goals. I think Bukayo Saka is an amazing footballer. He's got 4 goals and 7 assists. He's only played 14 games, so 3 less than Mo. But the minute tally between them is not massive. The gap there is not massive. Do you think he's going to score 6 goals in 3 games, 6 goals and get 3 assists in 3 games? I think that's unlikely. Mo is just on a different level, as is Virgil. They are just so special. And while I would hate to lose Trent, I would rather replace Trent than replace the other 2. You won't find another Trent. Like there won't be another player like Trent for many of the year. Trent is like the regen of Zanetti in his prime, but given the freedom. Zanetti was never given the same level of freedom that Trent has been given. But he had much of the same skill set as Trent. Much of the same level of ability as Trent. A better defensive player. Not quite the passer, but an excellent passer. A great crosser of the ball. Versatile. He could go and play in midfield and was tremendous there. And obviously did it for so long with Inter. But Zanetti peaked really from 2000 to probably 2006. And then he had his post-prime years. And obviously Trent doesn't break through till 17, 18. So you're talking 11 years after Zanetti's peak, that Trent shows up. So if we base it on that, Trent is probably in his peak now and will be for the next 4 or 5 years. So you're talking about 16 years before we might see another player like Trent. Although what I will say is, given the age we live in, I think you will see more and more coaches at the academy level take midfield players and convert them into fullbacks. You know, we've seen it happen with Joshua Kimmich, with Reece James, with Trent, and a lot of that is based on Zanetti. A lot of it is based on a copycat nature of football. Even, I know he was more of a right winger than a midfielder, but Dani Alves, the dreadful set of lads that he is, you know, wanting to create that real playmaking right back. So we'll probably see more and more coaches now do that. And I think we'll see more and more young players be open to it as well, because it's probably going to be easier for them to make the grade as a fullback than as a central midfielder, where maybe there's a lot more competition for places. And not only make the grade, but make that breakthrough earlier, because teams are looking for playmaking fullbacks. And if you have that bag of ability, you may get opportunities earlier in that position, as opposed to in central midfield, where you can have the talent, but sometimes managers look for a more physical approach. They look for a more mature kind of mindset. So I think we'll see more fullbacks aim to move to fullback, or more midfielders aim to move to fullback. But having a Trent level prospect is so rare. Like, you just don't find many of them. So I think it'll be many years before we'll see another Trent. But I do think we'll see another Trent. I don't know how long it will be before we see another Virgil. Like, a perfect central defender. Trent's an incredible player. He's got flaws in his game. Virgil is perfect. From a physical point of view, he's 6'4". He's built like a tank. He's lightning quick. Post ACL, not quite as quick, but you know what I mean. How many centre-backs tick those boxes? 6'3", 6'4", well-built, rapid. Off the top of your head, you're probably thinking of 5 or 6 over the last 6, 7 years, yeah? How many of them are aerially dominant? That drops the list even shorter. Now, one of the players on that list is Ibou Konate, obviously. Now ask yourself, how many of them are elite passers of the ball? Elite carriers of the ball? You don't have a list anymore. You just don't have a list anymore. And if you're saying Joel Matip is not built like Virgil. Joel Matip doesn't have the physical presence of Virgil. Virgil is one of one. That's before we factor in his leadership, his organization, and the threat he carries at set pieces at the other end. There has not been a centre-back like Virgil. I've spent quite a lot of time trying to find one. The closest you'll find, Desai wasn't as good on the ball as Virgil. You could argue Frank Rijkaard, but he was more of a defensive midfielder who moved back. He was incredible, but he wasn't as good a defender as Virgil. He was an incredible defensive midfielder. As a centre-back, he was very, very good. He wasn't nearly as good as Virgil. And Alessandro Nesta. But Nesta wasn't as big, wasn't as strong, wasn't as quick, wasn't as dominant in the air. Like, if Nesta's a 9 out of 10 at all of them, Virgil is a 10 out of 10. Like, you can count on your fingers how many times he's been dribbled past since joining us. When, other than that shitty season, 22-23. Like, 1v1 defending, he is absolutely elite. There is no box you can look at against Virgil van Dijk's name that you would say is mandatory for an elite defender that he hasn't ticked? None. And when you look at all the rest, there's at least a couple. At least a couple. He is one of one. Finding another one like him will be nigh on impossible. Because there hasn't been anyone like him. He's the best defender the Premier League has ever seen. And quite frankly, it's not all that close. He might be the best centre-back who's ever lived. Like, he genuinely might be. I've always gone Baresi. Baresi was phenomenal. Baresi was 5'9", skinny, very good in the ball, very quick, read the game exceptionally well, organisation, leadership, etc., etc. He wasn't great in the air. And again, he was skinny. He would struggle against physical defenders, or physical attackers rather, in the modern game. Baresi, I don't think, would be a centre-back if he came through now. I think he'd be a right-back or a defensive midfielder. Cannavaro would be a right-back. Roberto Ayala. Nobody is putting a 5'8", 5'9" centre-back. Nobody with real sense is putting a 5'8", 5'9" centre-back in their team and expecting to go and win the major honours. Fools might. Fools will look at Licha, the gnome Martinez, and say, oh yeah, he's my centre-back. But that team's not winning anything of importance. They might win the odd domestic cup. They're not winning anything of importance. He's not saving your job, as we've just seen. In a back three, fair enough, you can get away with it a bit more. But Virgil could play in a back three, he can play in a four. Virgil could play in any era of football. With his physicality, he would slot straight in to any era. With his 1v1 defending, he would slot into any league of any era. There is no team that you can think of that wouldn't be improved by putting Virgil van Dijk into, ever. Not one. The greatest international team we've seen is the Spanish team from 08 to 12. Virgil would be by far their best centre-back, and they had a great in Puyol and someone who's very good in Piqué. Virgil, significantly better than both. The best club team many people argue they've ever seen is that Barcelona team from the same era. Again, same centre-backs, Virgil's better than both. The latter stage Spanish team obviously had Ramos at centre-back. Virgil is so much better than Ramos. It's like they play different sports. I believe the best club side ever is Arrigo Sacchi's AC Milan team. Baresi, like I say, incredible. Costa Curta, maybe the best man-to-man marker of all time. Virgil starts over him all day, every day. Virgil gets into any team ever. No matter what way they want to play, no matter how good they were, what their manager was asking from the players, he is one of the first names, if not the first name, on every team sheet in the history of the game. He is one of one. Mo is not quite one of one, because there's a fella called Lionel Messi, but they're obviously very different players. But in terms of what you look for in a wide forward player, Mo is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Goals, creativity, 1v1 threat, selflessness. I know some people tried to make their names off calling him selfish over the years. It's one of the most unselfish players you'll ever see. There are times when maybe he shoots when he might pass, but that's not necessarily a selfishness thing. That's just a confidence thing. That's him backing himself. And he should shoot. He should shoot all the time. Like, look at the goal tallies. Mo is as close to perfect a wide forward as you'll ever find. And again, he's one that would start in pretty much any team you can ever think of. There might be some teams where maybe the style of play might not suit him. Like, you wouldn't really want to play him as a right-sided midfielder in a defensive 4 midfield. But you could play him in the front too as part of a little large combination. I just think it's harder. I think it's easier to just go and buy a really good right back because there are really good right backs out there. You know, there's really good centre backs. I just don't think any of them are a patch on Virgil. Like, I think Ibu is the number 2 centre back in the world right now. The gulf between Virgil and him is pretty sizable because of the on-ball stuff. The gulf from Ibu to everybody else is even bigger. Like, William Saliba is being held up as this incredible example of the next generation of centre-backs. Virgil's bigger than him, faster than him, he's stronger than him. He's eons better in the air. He's a much better passer of the ball. He's a better 1v1 defender. Like, there's nothing William Saliba does that's even on the same level as Virgil, let alone better than Virgil's better everywhere across the board. Saliba is talented, there's no doubt, but there's a bias in football watchers where they base things on aesthetics, and this is where the whole Hazard versus Mo debate winds me up, and the Mahrez versus Mo thing was even more ridiculous. People watch somebody and the aesthetic of how they play lures them in. Do you remember Ricardo Quaresma? Who, ungodly level of talent, like sensationally gifted footballer, and more talented, pure God-given ability, a more talented footballer than Cristiano when they came through at Sporting. I think Quaresma was a year above Cristiano age-wise. Much more aesthetically pleasing as well. You watch him do step-overs and turns and flicks and tricks, and it was just all so natural and so graceful and so automatic. Whereas at Cristiano, it always felt a little bit robotic is not quite the word I'm looking for, but a lot more practiced. Like a lot more practiced and honed, as opposed to the more natural flair of Quaresma. Who was the better player? It wasn't even close in the end, was it? They weren't even in the same stratosphere. It's the same thing with Mo and Mahrez. Like, Mahrez is a really good player, but Mo is just so much better. But Mahrez, when you watch him play, there's a grace to his game that's very, very appealing. It's a very, very attractive player to watch. His touch, the drop of the shoulder, the way he carried the ball, his striking motion. Hazard was a lot of fun to watch as well, but neither of them ever came close to the level that Mo has shown. Mahrez won Footballer of the Year. Mo's had about 4 seasons that were considerably better than that. Hazard won Footballer of the Year. Again, Mo's had 3 seasons to piss all over any season Eden Hazard ever had. But Mo doesn't get the aesthetic points because Mo is all about business. Mo's about production as opposed to the level of performance that warrants, YouTube clips. And unfortunately, we live in this era of comp makers and look, there's a lot of benefit to have to some incredibly talented people out there making comps and such. But there is, you see players have a 7 out of 10 performance, often even a 6 out of 10 performance, but there's 1 or 2 fancy turns or dribbles that they do, and it gets people all worked up and boxing the bellies of themselves, and that doesn't necessarily mandate that they've had a great performance. Mo might not have a particularly ferocious game where, he's just running the legs off a fullback. And at the end of the game, you look and you'll see, well, Mo has a goal and 2 assists today. And how's he done that? Well, because he's a genius. Look at the Leverkusen game. Mo didn't play particularly well. He had 2 incredible assists. Why? Because he's a genius. He's an all-time great. If Riyad Mahrez or Eden Hazard got marked the way Mo was marked in that game by Hincapié, the only way either of them are having any impact on the scoreline is by scoring a penalty that they didn't win themselves. This is what separates the truly great from the perceived great. Anyway, back to right back. So we're getting ready to do the transfer committee pod for January, and we're going to look at some contingency plans for the post-Trent, post-Mo, post-Virgil possibilities. Now, Trent is the best right back in the world. He's 26 years of age. It would be a hammer blow to lose him. But if we look at other right backs, now this is not to say whether we could or couldn't sign them. This is just to show that there are a lot of outstanding right backs out there at the moment. Achraf Hakimi, Jules Koundé, Pedro Porro, Tino Livramento, Josip Stanisic.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha! This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Archie Gray, if you want to class him as a right back because he's played there a bunch. Jan Couto. Aaron Hickey's a left back, not a right back. Michael Coyote of Fiorentina. Vanderson of Monaco. He's having a really, really good time of things at Monaco. Amir Dedic of Red Bull Salzburg. Looks a hell of a player, Bosnian international. Like, there's just a lot of really good right backs out there at the moment. Juan Luis Sanchez of Sevilla looks a hell of a player. Aaron Conor Bradley. Arnaud Martinez of what's the name of the club? Girona. Should remember that. We're going to play them this year. There's a lot of good right backs. Thiago Santos at Lille. Are they Trent level? No. Are they Trent type? No. Could they become one of the best right backs in the world? Or in the case of Hakimi and Koundé, are they already there? Yes. Yes, they are. They're right up there. They're not as good as Trent, but they're the next best thing in terms of the level. They're different styles, but we're not as reliant on Trent now to be our primary playmaker as we were under Jurgen. And that may shrink even less if we were to, let's just say we could convince Zubimendi to give up his beloved mountains in January. There are a lot of options for us to go with an attacking right back, a traditional attacking right back, or maybe a more defensive right back, like Arne used at Feyenoord, where he used Gertrude in that role, which would then constitute us going and getting an attack-minded left back, like a Milos Kerkez, like a Reane Nouri, like a Miguel Gutierrez, somebody of that nature. So I think if one of them is going to leave, the easiest one to replace, not like for like, but replace with a really, really good player is going to be Trent. I think it's also the most cost-effective one to replace, because an elite-level centre-back, like we see, Wesley Fofana went for 75 million a couple of years ago. Do you know what I mean? Wesley Fofana, who's good, don't get me wrong, but he was coming off a horrible leg fracture. We see top centre-backs being linked with moves on a regular basis, and you're talking 70, 80, 100 million pounds. We don't see that with right backs. It's more in that 40 to 50 million pound range. The same thing with Mo, replacing Mo. You're going to be looking, if you want someone to come in and do it now, and do that job now, you're talking 70, 80 million. Unless you're willing to take a step back in that position and buy someone that you hope you can develop into a player that can eventually put forward those numbers. Like, put it this way, if Michael Elise was on the market this upcoming summer, Bayern are looking for 100 million for him. You know? There's not a ton of options. Mohamed Kudus is a name that's floated around. West Ham will want 85 million for him. Even Jared Bowen will cost 65, 70 million pounds. It's more cost effective to replace Trent if you have to replace one of them. Just is. I've rambled for a long time, so I'm going to leave it there for today. I will, of course, direct you to AnfieldIndex.com. While I think of it, Anfield Index are now on Blue Sky. So if you are moving to or considering moving to Blue Sky, now that Twitter has fully descended into a carnival of Nazis and an echo chamber of lies, if Blue Sky is where you've decided to take up home, Anfield Index is on there. I am also on Blue Sky. The easiest way to find me is probably to go to just my name. But if you go to the Anfield Index account, which should show up easier, and if you go through the followers or the followed by, you'll find me there. It's a good way to find fellow Reds. Sam Maguire's on there. He'll be easily searchable. He's got a big following now there, like over 1,000. It's not like his Twitter following, but he's got over 1,000 followers there. So if you're looking to connect with fellow Reds on Blue Sky, I would say find Sam and then go through his list of followers, and you'll probably find a lot of the people you want to connect with. On AnfieldIndex.com, then, there is a remembrance of Peter Wall. There is a piece about David Coote. There is a piece about the potential for Liverpool to capitalise on a depleted City and an Arsenal team that is morphing more and more into Tony Pulis's Stoke City. There's a piece about Mo and why his contract should be really a no-brainer. There is a piece about the recent links with Daniel Svensson, a young Swedish left-back at Nordsjælland, one that we may have interest in, recently capped by the Swedish national team. So do read all of those. Podcast-wise then, there is the new fatigue index that finally came out yesterday. If you haven't heard it, please go and listen. It is outstanding. Cy Brundish and Paul Bauer talking about tactical periodization, which is the Dutch model of squad management. There is the new Scouser Tommies with Jim and Jay, so make sure you get your ears into that one as well. There is a new Under Pressure with Dan Kennett, Cy Brundish and Hamza. No Barts this week. He was away. It is most likely a tremendous listen. I've not yet had the chance to listen to that one. And today, myself and Carol recorded a new Scouted, and I have to say I enjoyed it. So give all of those a listen, and we've got more coming for you as well. Let me just jump in here. What have we got coming? There's a big chat about Blue Sky in the hosts group chat. Here we go. There will be a Media Matters tomorrow with Paul Joyce joining the show. On Friday, there will be a Minefield, and there'll be a couple more bits. We're going to record another Scouted tomorrow, which I think is going to come out Friday or Saturday. And then we will have the Transfer Committee pod next week recording. I don't know if it's going to be released at the time or if they're going to hold it for a little while. That's not my decision. But yeah, lots of podcasts, lots of content. And like I say, give the account a follow on Blue Sky if you're there. And if you're not, well, so be it.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.